CC tangentially through podcasting. He's like the godfather of podcasting. He was working with artists, literally. What CC was doing at the time was helping artists free up their rights so that people could promote their music through these podcasts. CC, of course, went on to co-author this amazing book called Content Rules. And it is one of those books that if you're interested in creating content, it sort of has to be part of your world. And then he called me and said he was writing this book called Amazing Things Will Happen. I thought, what the hell is he doing that for? What the hell did you do that for?
I wanted to write it. I mean, what the hell did I write it for?
You had a good ascent. Why do you?
I had a perfect ascent. I was rocking the content world, but I always wanted to write a book for my kids. I have two great kids. They're 13 and 11 now, and I wanted to write a book that would tell them, here's how I want you to live your life. Here's how Dad wants you to live the life. And I'd also been doing this other podcast after the music one called Managing the Gray that helped people, it was kind of first started as a social media how-to podcast and then kind of evolved into, here's how you can live a happier life. And people kept saying, when are you going to write a book? So I said, all right, I should do this. I should put it all together. I've always sort of lived a life my own way. I believe you got to work really hard. You got to help other people. That's why when Mitch emailed me out of the blue, and I didn't know who Mitch was, and later learned that it was Mitch Joel that I was talking to. I vividly remember a friend going, my God, you know Mitch? How do you know Mitch? I wanted to write a book because too many people, I think, there's a couple things. One, there's too many self-help books out there that promise you the world. Follow this formula and you'll make $1 million. I think that's a load of BS. And two, there's all these people who just need a little nudge to do something more with their lives. And, I recently was in Nottingham talking about living an amazing life, and I was talking about, what I define as an amazing life, what you define as an amazing life, what everybody out there is different. A 9 to 5 can be an amazing life if that's what you want to do. It's not
for us.
No, it's not for us. No, but I can't ever imagine, but amazing for me also isn't, kick back on a beach. That's not me. I'd rather be in a cabin in the woods, so everybody has their own different life, and I wanted to write a book that was short, to the point, and that anybody could get motivated from.
I mean, I'm fascinated with it because I read a ton. I read like a book or 2 books a week, and I love personal development books. And when I read books like self-help books, I'm always like, who the hell is this person to write this book? So when you said it, I sort of did have a bit of that, like, who the hell's CC to write this book?
Yeah.
So who the hell are you to write this book?
I have no right to write it, and I had that the whole time writing it. I'm like, gonna be 39. Yeah, my birthday is in 2 days, so happy birthday to me. I'm gonna be 39 years old. Thank you. I'm gonna be 39. What right do I have to write this book? I'd like to think I have more days ahead of me than I do behind me, but who knows? And I had a real hard time with that when I was writing the book. And I vividly remember being on a rooftop in Austin, and my editor's like, CC, there's all these people out there making promises to the world. Do you want people to buy their book or buy your book? Think of it that way. And it kind of said, all right. So I firmly was like, you know what? If I sell 5 copies, I don't care. I just need to get this book out of my head and share with the world. And I read up front, I say, listen, this is advice I've gotten from mentors, from friends, from my dad, from parents over the years. And I just wanted to share it. I don't think there's nothing earth-shattering. I think it's lots of common sense. It's very no nonsense. I was very happy to hear people say, CC, I could hear you reading the book to me. It was in your voice. It felt authentic. So I guess job accomplished. I think so.
So we all know what the word amazing means. We all know will and happen. What are these things? What are these things of which you speak that are going to make our lives so amazing?
I think amazing things can be anything. It's part about having the job you want to do, getting to find the free time to do what you want to do. It's not, and I also don't think you can, what's the things for me? Things for me is that I get up, and if I want to take a field trip with my kids, I can, because I work for myself. That's the most amazing thing to me, is that I control my own destiny. The most amazing thing to other people is having access to talented people. I know you're like me, you get off on being on stage. You love speaking to an audience. That's an amazing thing to you, because I get off on that too. The key thing, part of the big front part of the book, is figuring out, well, what path do you want to walk down? You choose the path. And our parents try to put us on a path. We've all been there. Every one of our parents has tried at one point to say, are you sure that's the right idea? And my parents still don't know what I do. So, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad's a forester. How the heck did I end up doing this? But it's because it's the path I chose. I think people have to figure out what those things are that they want to make happen.
So part of the thing, or figuring it out, is this idea that you talk about in the book called the passion hit.
Yeah.
So I want you to explain it, but then also once you're done explaining it, talk about that word. It seems like people are getting tired of the word follow your passion. Like it's one of those things that people get, I don't know if it makes them anxious or if it makes them think that that's undefinable.
Yeah.
So
I invented a word. If you ever get stuck and you want to be a cool author, make up your own stuff, then nobody can argue with you. But I made up this phrase, passion hit, which I define as someone who figured out a way to take something they love doing and make it a livelihood. That's not easy. Following your passion, that advice is dangerous because there's plenty of starving artists out there. There's plenty of starving musicians out there. So figuring out how to take that and make a living from it is very difficult. And that's the thing that I try to focus on. There's always those things, and those greener pasture things are not the easy thing. You can always find a new job. But actually figuring out what do you love doing and could you do it for a living? Like I love photography. I don't think I could be a photographer for a living because I don't have that go. I can't travel the world and shoot and leave my kids and wife at home. But I love doing it and figuring out that difference between something that you love doing as a hobby as opposed to doing it day in and day out and because there's days that you grind. I mean, ask any author. There's days that you scream at the computer and don't want to write, but you have to, right? I mean, you've had those days.
Not really, but I've heard it happen.
Because you're Mitch Joel.
I like that.
I do believe in sharing stuff and being accountable for it. I know there's a whole argument of not sharing your goals publicly. There's arguments against it. And I firmly believe that by putting it out there and saying it, it makes you more accountable to yourself and other people to support it. And it's a fine line, but I've always lived a life kind of in the public, and it's the weirdest thing where I just kind of share my thoughts. I share, if you look at my Twitter stream, I'll be talking about business, but then I'll mix it with playing with the kids, or my Instagram feed is a mess of different things. I just enjoy sharing, and you never know where things are going. I mean, this meeting here came about from a random tweet that had nothing directly to do with this, and it just kind of came about. So I believe throwing things out to the universe and saying what you want, and it'll sometimes come back in really cool ways. I'm not going to say amazing.
Amazing things.
Cliche.
Amazing things will happen. There's one part in the book that I'd love for you to talk about and share with people, which is the idea of seagulls.
Ah, yes, seagulls.
I hate seagulls.
Do you hate seagulls?
Yeah.
I've had one person call me up and be like, I love seagulls. I love going. Okay, I hate seagulls at the beach where they're squawking and they just fly in and they crap on you. They don't do anything right. So a seagull in the sense of the book, though, is that sort of person, and I guarantee you've bumped into them where, especially in an office environment, where they'll swing in, they'll swoop in and go, oh, that's not good, and swoop out. They just slam you down, or they say that idea is not going to work, or we can't do that, and without any backup. There's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. I love when you're a perfect person. I call up and you will say, CC, that sucks, but here's how it could be better, and here's why I think it. Seagulls fly in and just dump on you and fly away, and I think those are people. They do, and you need to avoid those. And you all have friends or
we call them parents. No,
parents sometimes, but most times it's a manager or it's somebody, a friend, and those are the worst. And I'd say you got to learn to deal with them because they are the worst things. Especially if you start talking about you're going to do something a little non-conventional. Oh, I'm going to go travel abroad for a year. Oh, that's there's terrorists everywhere, or it's like. No, but those people are out there, and you really have to learn to deal with them and ignore them and not feed the trolls like we talk about because seagulls, unfortunately, they will come back if you give them more fodder and pay them attention. So
last question. You've written the book. You're out talking about it. What amazing things have happened after you wrote Amazing Things Will Happen? Has there been sort of something that?
Well, it's been really interesting. Nothing like, oh my God, yet has happened. What? No, I shouldn't say that. All of a sudden last week, I get a tweet saying that, hey, CC, cool to see you in the Washington Post. And I'm like, what? And I'm freaking out, trying to figure out what this is. And then I get an email from my good friend Steve Garfield from his mom, Millie, saying, cool to see CC in the Boston Globe today. I'm like, what? So last Sunday, the Washington Post, I read this review. She wrote it. I thought it was just an online review. Turns out she's the book reviewer for the Washington Post. It ran in the Sunday Post. My wife's down at a football game rooting for the Ravens while they lose to the Redskins. And she picks up the paper. It's on the front page of the business section of the Sunday Post. And then it turns out the Globe syndicates it. So that was pretty amazing. The other amazing thing was in the first week, I had a complete stranger. This may sound like not amazing, but complete stranger, not even somebody I knew on Twitter. Like, I had no interaction with her, knew nothing. Wrote this beautiful review about how it changed the way she was looking at school, and she was thinking about maybe changing majors. And that's scary when you have that, when you realize your words have actually changed someone's life, and you hope it goes good because you don't know. But that was really cool because all these great people saying these really kind things, and I've had 2 people, one of them today, compare the book to The Places You'll Go, which made, as a Dr. Seuss fan, made my day. And I just went, all right, that's cool. And it's in the book too. So
the big lesson is that, social media, new media guy gets excited when traditional media writes about it. It's a good lesson. CC Chapman, he's the author of Amazing Things Will Happen. Thanks, CC.
Thanks, man.